Have you ever felt like the universe was whispering to you? Like a thought just appeared in your mind, uninvited, and soon after, something happened that matched it so perfectly, it left you breathless? A strange encounter. A word you didn't know you needed. A coincidence so sharp, so perfectly timed, that for a second, you couldn't tell if it was real or imagined. Maybe it gave you chills. Maybe everything around you went quiet, as if the world itself paused to show you something. As if reality had folded in on itself just to reach you, just to make sure you saw it. You're not imagining things. You're not losing your mind. This has a name. Carl Gustav Jung called it synchronicity. And no, this isn't wishful thinking or vague spirituality. Jung was no mystic on a mountain. He was a psychiatrist, a pioneer of the mind. He believed that there are moments, rare, powerful moments, when the inner world and the outer world line up with such precision, with such meaning, that it breaks through logic. In those moments, something ancient stirs beneath the surface. The unconscious is rising. It's reaching out. And if you don't listen, it doesn't go away. It grows louder, stranger, harder to ignore. That moment you felt, it may not have been random. It may have been your psyche speaking in the only language it has, symbols, signs, stories. It may have been your pain, your longing, your transformation trying to show itself. Synchronicity shows up right when things begin to break apart. When you're on the edge of a change you can't quite name. And I know, no one taught you how to see this. Most people will laugh it off. They'll say it's just coincidence, or call it paranoia. But deep down, you know better. You felt it. And once you've felt it, you can't forget. This video, it's a moment between us. Just you and me. You, who are caught in something strange and can't make sense of it. You, who notice patterns no one else sees. You, who feel like something is trying to reach you from behind the veil of your own life. In this video, I'm not here to teach. I'm here to sit with you in that mystery. To walk beside you through this space where reason ends and something else begins. Because maybe you're not falling apart. Maybe, for the first time, you're waking up. So I'll ask you now, are you ready to hear what your soul is trying to say? Jung didn't believe in coincidence. For him, life wasn't just a string of random events stitched together by chance. He saw existence as a deep, living pattern, a web of meaning that connects your thoughts, your dreams, your pain, with what happens in the world around you. Synchronicity is where these threads touch. But what is it, really? Jung described synchronicity as two events happening at the same time, events that aren't connected by cause, but by meaning. They don't create each other, but together they speak. They speak to you. And that's what matters, not the events, but what they say to your soul. Picture this. You're thinking about someone you haven't seen in years. Moments later, they call you. Or you dream of a strange symbol, a blue butterfly, and the next morning, that same symbol is on the front of a book that draws you in. Science shrugs and says, random. Jung leans in and says, no, look closer. These moments, he believed, are cracks in the hard shell of logic. Small tears where something deeper leaks through. It's the unconscious stepping out of the shadows. It's as if the world momentarily reshapes itself to reflect something you needed to feel. Something beyond explanation, but immediately real. And Jung didn't come to this lightly. He spent decades studying the hidden layers of the mind. He worked with patients, symbols, myths, alchemy, even physics. And again, he saw it. Dreams that predicted events, numbers that repeated without reason, names that returned like echoes. Logic couldn't explain it. Statistics fell short. The only thing that made sense was that a hidden pattern was breaking through. Synchronicity. But let me be clear, this isn't magic in the way we often think about magic. It's not about wishing and waiting for the universe to give you something. It's not transactional. It's not cute. It's deep, quiet, demanding. It comes to those who are ready to listen, not just with their ears, but with their whole being, even when the message hurts. And here's what matters most. Only you can understand the meaning of these moments. From the outside, It may look like nothing, a coincidence, a story, but to you, it hits differently. You feel it. You know. If you've lived through this, you know exactly what I mean. And maybe you're wondering, why now? Why does this happen when everything in life feels fragile, uncertain, about to shift? Let's go deeper. Because maybe, just maybe, what we call accidents are actually answers. There are moments when everything falls apart. The people you love drift away. Plans you made crumble. Life loses its shape. And it's exactly in those moments, when your defenses are down, when your heart is exposed, that synchronicity shows up. Why? Because Jung believed that when your conscious mind, the part of you that tries to stay in control, starts to break down, something else rises up. The unconscious, the hidden self. And it doesn't speak in logic or sentences. It speaks in signs, in echoes, in reflections. And sometimes, it speaks through reality itself. Ever met someone at the exact moment you needed them? Heard a sentence that felt like it was written just for you? Found a symbol that followed you through your days, repeating until it finally cracked something open inside? That's not coincidence. That's your soul, trying to have a conversation with the world. Synchronicity is the bridge between what's invisible and what you can touch. The universe doesn't answer with facts, it answers with reflections. And those reflections show up everywhere. In the chorus of a song, in a sentence on a page, in the same number showing up again and again. They pull you in. They wake something up. These experiences don't follow the rules of reason. They break them. And they remind us, maybe this world isn't cold and mechanical. Maybe it's alive. But we need to be careful. Synchronicity isn't about chasing signs in everything. It's not about getting lost in fantasy or paranoia. It's about meaning. And meaning lives inside you, not outside. What matters is how it hits you, what it opens, what it changes. If something shook you, if it made you stop and feel something ancient and unfamiliar, it wasn't random. It was a message. And these messages come when your soul is shifting, when something inside you is trying to change course, but your logical mind hasn't caught up yet. So the unconscious sends the message outside, into your life, so you'll finally notice. That's why people report these moments during breakups, grief, depression, or deep confusion. Because when the old ways stop working, the unconscious takes over, and it starts to guide. But what is this unconscious? Why does it speak in riddles and metaphors instead of plain words? To answer that, we have to go further. Because synchronicity is just the surface. Beneath it, something more powerful is moving. Something that's been watching, waiting, something that's been trying, for a very long time, to be heard. If this is resonating, if something deep inside you is lighting up, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Be part of this channel, and let's keep digging. Your support means everything. You are not in control. That's one of the hardest things to admit, and one of the most freeing truths you'll ever come to understand. Most of what you feel, think, want, or fear doesn't come from your conscious choices. It rises from somewhere much deeper, much older, and far quieter, from the unconscious. And if you keep pretending it isn't there, it'll still find a way to speak to you. Sometimes through dreams, other times through suffering. But there are moments, rare, undeniable moments, when it speaks straight through the fabric of reality itself. That's what we call synchronicity. Carl Jung didn't see the unconscious as just a place where old memories get buried. He saw it as something alive, something creative and intelligent, something that speaks in symbols. Inside you, there's a kind of silent intelligence, an inner force that holds not just your pain or trauma, but also your purpose, your gifts, your hidden roads to change. And when your outer life drifts too far from what this deeper part of you wants to reveal, strange things start to happen. Small, jarring moments that shake you out of autopilot and force you to pay attention. You can try to ignore it. You can explain it away, say it's just random. But the feeling sticks with you. That eerie sense that something's trying to get your attention doesn't leave. It's the unconscious tapping on your shoulder, whispering through discomfort, through symbols, through patterns. Like a quiet inner guide finally raising its voice. You're not listening. So now, I'm going to show you. And it does. It shows you in sudden meetings that feel like fate. It shows you in weird patterns that don't make logical sense. It shows up through symbols at the most delicate turning points, a butterfly landing during grief, a number following you when you're on the edge of change, a dream image suddenly appearing in real life like a mirror of your mind. These signs don't play by the rules of logic. They follow the language of the soul. They speak through symbols, and to understand them, you need to feel them. The rational mind wants facts, clarity, control. But the unconscious doesn't work that way. It gives you stories, images, riddles. And you might wonder, why not just speak clearly? Because real understanding doesn't come from being told. It comes from being changed. The unconscious doesn't want to give you quick answers. It wants to shift you, move you, make you more whole. And synchronicity is the crack in the wall. It's the invitation. Maybe you're in that space right now. Maybe you're seeing signs, noticing patterns, feeling like coincidences are trying to speak. That's not weakness. That's openness. That's a signal that something deep inside you is ready to come to the surface. But to really grasp this, you have to zoom out. Jung found that the unconscious isn't just yours. There's a much deeper layer, a symbolic ocean that connects all of us. That's where synchronicity really takes shape. Let's go there. What you think of as your mind isn't just personal. Beneath your everyday thoughts, beneath your memories and stories, there's something older, something deeper. Jung called it the collective unconscious, a shared mental space where timeless images, old myths, and primal forces live. It moves beneath your awareness and shapes how you see, feel, and act, without you even realizing it. And it's from this place that the strongest synchronicities are born. When a symbol from the shared psychic layer shows up in your real life, right when you're breaking down, searching, or shifting, it hits hard. It doesn't feel like chance. It feels like a thread connecting you to something far beyond yourself. Like life itself is trying to wake you up. Jung explored this deeply. He saw that during intense inner struggle, the mind reaches into that ancient pool and pulls out symbols, shared images found in every culture. The serpent, the hero, the wise elder, the nurturing mother, the dark shadow, the rebirth. These aren't man-made inventions. They're the raw architecture of human experience, rising from within when we need them most. And it was through the ancient science of alchemy that Jung saw a mirror for how we transform inside. Alchemists spoke of turning lead into gold, but Jung knew it was never about metals. It was about the soul. The lead is the confusion, the chaos, the wounded self. The gold is consciousness, real, awakened, whole. In that transformation, synchronicity becomes the spark. It arrives when you're lost in the nigredo, the dark night of the soul, when everything inside feels like it's falling apart. And in that darkness, the signs begin to show up, like stars blinking on, a strange dream, a wild animal crossing your path, a book falling off a shelf, a number that keeps stalking you through time. These aren't magic tricks. They're messages, symbols, clues. They're the psyche's way of saying, look deeper. And when you start to truly follow them, things begin to shift. Chaos starts to make sense. Disorder starts to feel like direction. But it takes surrender. Real surrender. It takes courage to sit with what's showing up inside. Because symbols don't bring comfort. They bring truth. And truth is rarely easy. This brings us to the most vital part. How to understand what these signs mean. How to tell the difference between a passing event and a true synchronicity. How to read these inner signals without slipping into fantasy or delusion. How to know when it's your unconscious speaking and when it's just noise. That's where we're going next. You'll learn how to see and understand synchronicities with clarity, using Jung's own insights as your guide. Because when the right symbol appears at the right moment, and you truly get it, everything can change. Seeing a sign is one thing, but understanding it, truly grasping its weight, is something else entirely. How many times have you felt that strange pull during a coincidence, a moment that felt too perfect to ignore, but you were left unsure what it meant? The mind stirs. The heart pounds. You sense there's something more behind it, something hidden, but it slips through your fingers like smoke. And that's where most people get lost, right in the space between what happens and what it truly means. Carl Jung showed us that synchronicity doesn't play by the rules of normal thinking. You can't reason your way into it. It demands a different kind of vision, symbolic, instinctive, inward. For Jung, decoding a synchronicity is like decoding a dream. The facts aren't what matter most, it's the emotional shockwave it sends through your soul. Because symbols speak a language that your conscious mind hasn't yet learned to understand. The first step is this: observe without judgment. When something strange happens, something charged with meaning, don't rush to figure it out. Just notice it. Write it down. Sit with it. Ask yourself, what does this remind me of? What was I feeling when it happened? Is this part of a pattern I've seen before? The unconscious speaks through images and connections. And symbols? They don't just mean one thing, they carry layers of meaning, each one peeling back a new truth. The second step is to add context. Where are you right now in your life? Are you in the middle of change? Struggling with loss? Facing a hard decision? Waking up to something new? Synchronicity almost always arrives when your life is shifting, when the old version of you has fallen away, but the new one hasn't fully stepped in yet. It's in this crack between identities that the unconscious begins to speak loudest. The third step is to connect with archetypes. Let's say you keep seeing snakes. Don't just think literally. In Jung's world, the snake is about deep change, rebirth, healing, raw energy, danger, wisdom. One image, many meanings, and it might be pointing at something alive inside you, trying to surface. But be warned, to understand a symbol is to be brutally honest with yourself. The unconscious does not care about making your ego feel good. It cares about your growth. That's why the messages it sends are often strange, unsettling, or even scary. Because they strike a nerve, they reach the wounds you've hidden away. A lot of people use synchronicity as a comfort blanket, hoping it'll confirm what they already want. That's an ego trap. Real synchronicity doesn't validate your desires, it reveals your truths. And sometimes, those truths are the very things you've been avoiding. That's why Jung warned, without self-knowledge, interpretation is impossible. You have to be brave enough to look at yourself, to face your shadow, to admit that maybe this symbol is pointing to something you've refused to see. But once you say yes to this inner work, something shifts. Life stops being a string of random moments and turns into a mirror. Every event becomes a message. Every symbol, a door. Suddenly, life feels deeper, more precise, full of meaning. And that's when the question comes. If all these signs are showing up, if the unconscious is trying to speak, what is it trying to tell you? In the next part, we'll close this loop. Because maybe synchronicity isn't just waking you up. Maybe it's trying to change you. And after the call comes the choice, the one that can shape your entire future. You didn't land here by accident. If you felt a resonance in this video, if you've lived those strange coincidences, those meaningful encounters, those repeating signs, then maybe you're already walking your own synchronistic path. And that is no small thing. That is a calling. Jung said synchronicity is the way your unconscious nudges you toward individuation, the journey of becoming your truest self. But that path is not easy. It requires breaking patterns. It demands uncertainty. It forces you to let go of everything safe, predictable, and known. Because this isn't about understanding the world. It's about understanding you. Synchronicity tends to show up when something inside is about to shift. When the life you've known starts to break apart, and a new version of you begins to take shape. Still forming, still fragile, still surrounded by fear. But if you ignore this call, it won't vanish. It will circle back. Louder. Because life is persistent when it wants you to wake up. You could shut your eyes again. Tell yourself it's just a coincidence. Go back to the grind. Pretend you didn't notice, didn't feel it, didn't sense the pull. But deep down, you know that won't last. Because when the soul wants to speak, the whole universe leans in to help it. Or, you can answer. Step into the unknown. Follow the clues. Track the symbols. And ask yourself, without flinching, what am I refusing to face? What inside me is aching to be born? What part of me is ready to be left behind? Because that's what synchronicity demands. Transformation. It doesn't come to confirm what you think you know. It comes to bring back what you've lost. To remind you who you really are. To help you reclaim what you've buried. Synchronicity is the whisper from the universe that says, "You're ready." And now I ask you, are you? If you've ever lived through a synchronicity, something that defied logic but cracked your world open, share it in the comments. Someone out there might need to hear your story right now. And if this video struck a chord with you, like, share, and subscribe. Because this is only the beginning. Keep watching. Because the journey that just started is far from over.